And welcome to the Daily Space Weather Show. Big sunspot just rose in the northeast. Coronal mass ejection about to strike at any moment. Solar flare watch in effect around the eastern limb. Massive solar filaments, coronal holes. As we get closer and closer to solar maximum, we'll tell you all about what's going on with the antics. And the weather from space all the way down to the weather at your place in the lower 48. So there's the past 24 hours from SDO. Classic wavelengths there through which to view solar filaments. 304 plus 193 angstroms are the portions of the ultraviolet spectrum. And 2 CMEs on the way, one to arrive at any moment. First, a great view of this massive filament. Really gives you a great indication of the height of that filament. Get some great perspective there in those wavelengths. And here is that new massive sunspot. And don't be surprised to see 150 sunspots counted in that sunspot group alone. In fact, it actually contains 2 sunspot groups. This one down in the southeast is not too shabby either. We've also got crown prominences at both poles. There's a southern crown prominence. And here's a northern crown prominence. There's actually a CME happening once again while we create the video. So definitely lots of stuff to cover today. And let's talk channel. Oh, before we do that, let's take a look at sunspots from SDO Continuum. So here's a brief look. We're going to show you a little closer views of this in a minute. There's the continuum imagery. Here is the colorized magnetogram for a brief moment. And it looks like we do have more active regions also rising in the east there. Some more sunspots about to peek their way over the eastern horizon. And now, let's talk channel. Please press the like button. If you're new to the channel, please press the subscribe button. Do yourself a favor. Get the world's most comprehensive daily space weather show delivered right to your subscription feed on YouTube. If you're not getting it to your subscription feed and you've already subscribed, consider becoming a member of the Smash team. We'll talk paid endorsements in a minute, but first, everybody must press like when you're waiting for lava to erupt from a magma dike. Everybody must play like. So press like, folks. If you're new, press subscribe. We'll wait. Take your good old time. And lots of very popular videos in our shorts, by the way, if you know anybody who's a space weather noob. Perhaps show them some shorts. If you know people who just have short attention spans, youtube.com/smashomash/shorts, and the rest are paid endorsements. So first of all, our Smash Team site, smashomash.com/smash team. We'll talk about a little more about this a little bit later in the video. So check that out. You'll see a constant stream of our Twitch feed, which is usually streaming the GOES 18 SUVI right now, as you can see there. And again, a CME happening while we create the video. Support the channel by becoming a bronze level, a silver level, or a gold Smash Team level. We just sent out a post today that everybody can see. You can check it out, smashomash.com/smash team/posts to see that post. Another paid endorsement is the Amazon shop, amazon.com/shop/smashomash. And, yeah, black pepper. Are you buying little jars of black pepper for $9 in the grocery stores? How about a 30-ounce bulk container for $23? 30 ounces of black pepper for $23 there at Amazon. Check out our shop for bulk spices and lots more. Today's featured product from the Redbubble shop is Mansa. Yeah, it stands for Make America Not Suck Again, because the best way to get out of a hole, folks, is to quit digging. So if you paint yourself into a corner, please come out and make America not suck again. Now, of course, this is it's a bit of a rift on, I don't know, certain slogans that are very triggering to people. And if you think I'm associated with a political party, think again. Probably never will, certainly never have had an affiliation with a political party. But I certainly do have a personal interest in making America not suck again. Mansa. That's today's featured product from Redbubble. Links below the video to that, and the Amazon shop, and the Smash Team site, and the Hemp Lucid shop. Don't forget to enter the promo code SMASHOMASH10 at the Hemp Lucid shop to save 10%. Hemplucid.com. Everything from CBD for your pets to CBD body balms, CBD stress immune and sleep stacks, CBD mushroom gummies, CBD, what do you call them? Tinctures. Yeah, tinctures. Full spectrum, the water soluble, the oil soluble. Smash-O-Mash 10 will save you as many percent. And of course, don't forget to visit our links. Hit us up on social media. Thanks to everybody who supported the channel low the past several years. We're on Facebook. We're on the platform formerly known as Twitter. Even on Threads for some reason. Original music on Spotify. Don't forget to hit us up on Discord. If you want to send an instant message, that's the best way. Links to all the shops right there on the homepage. And let's talk about earthly stuff for a quick moment. Yeah, earthly stuff. No, not your Christmas list. Which volcanoes are erupting? Which volcano eruptions are on your Christmas list? That's a better story. Let us know in the comments. Mount Mayan is erupting, producing an unknown ash plume. However, Dacono is producing a 12,000-foot ash plume as it explodes. Shishaldine, volcanic ash not identifiable. Popocatépetl exploding. Flight level 220. It's a 22,000-foot ash plume. Fuego in Guatemala exploding. Flight level 170. Nevado del Ruiz exploding. Flight level 220. 22,000-foot ash plume. Sangay continuous emissions. No idea the altitude. The altitude of Revenador's ash plume is 16,000. It's a flight level 160. Flight level 180 over Sabancaya, the Peruvian volcano. And moving on to earthquakes, but first, still no eruptions at Iceland. So all remains quiet here. Again, no lava. No magma turning to lava yet on the Reykjanes Peninsula. Next seismic activity, we had two quakes of an almost 6 magnitude. One of them was a 5.9 near a volcanic island there near the Mariana Trench. There's a location of that 5.9 magnitude quake. North of Guam. That was at nearly 600 kilometers estimated depth there. And it was at 4:01 Universal Time this morning. Largest quake was a little more recent. That one occurring just south of Japan near Yokohama, south of Sapporo. And that was actually a 6 magnitude quake. It was still at some depth there of 52.6 kilometers. And it was a lot more recent, having occurred at 21:01 Universal Time this evening. And here come the quakes for the past 24 of a 5 or greater magnitude. So again, that 5.9. And then a long lull before a 5.3 in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Right on the equator, practically. And then a 5.1 there. South of Japan. That was at 20:42 Universal Time this evening. And then that 6.0, the last on the list. Some quakes on the west coast of the U.S. as well. And let's get back to space, as it's definitely a good time to be taking a look at that. So there you go. There's another 24-hour video. Another classic wavelength there, the ionized helium of 304 angstroms. Mesmerizing. And here's the 171 angstroms for the same time period. A 24-hour video from Solar Dynamics Observatory. So that's what's been going on. And how about a little closer view? How about some money shots of that new sunspot? What do you say? So that's pretty good, right? And shall we move in a little closer? All right, there you go. There's a full zoom. And many of those sunspots have not even been counted yet. Only about half of those sunspots were countable at the time the sunspot number updated, which is why we're not yet over 100. We'll be over 100 by tomorrow. And we'll tell you why here a little bit later. First, let's take a look at some stats. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux is now at 140. So an increase of about 20 solar flux units in the past 24 hours there. And that needs to be updated. Again, the radio flux is now up at 140. And there's our space weather enthusiast dashboard, expecting some geomagnetic. Let me press refresh there. Expecting some geomagnetic storm conditions tonight. KP5 forecasted by NOAA. Don't be surprised to see a KP 6.66, as that CME was quite earthly directed. So it could be arriving at any moment too, folks. So that's another interesting feature there. Geomagnetic storm coming tonight, and possibly another one coming on the 21st. See yesterday's daily space weather video for more information about that. So here's NOAA's forecast, and there you can see that CME impact. Again, it's expected sometime really early tomorrow, but of course, it is possible to be off by a few hours. There was an instance earlier this year where everybody was off by more like 12 hours. 12 to 18 hours, really. NASA has not forecasted either of the incoming CMEs at all. Look at that. There's NASA's model. Nothing on it. Maybe somebody's on vacation. But the CMEs that are coming, not showing up on NASA's model. Facts. And continuing right along, Earth's magnetic moment from space is next. And here are the past 4 hours, and it is geomagnetically calm here. We have a very slow solar wind at the moment, so we should see a quite significant signal when the CME arrives late tonight or early tomorrow morning on November 20th. So we'll just let that play through all the way there, and then we'll show ground magnetic perturbations. So here's another map that you can view when you're thinking you might be able to see the aurora. This will show you the most likely places. It works pretty well. I've used it myself and captured some aurora with it. So we're going to show you some other ways as well. We'll show you two other links here from the Space Weather Prediction Center. So if you scroll down to the bottom here, one of them is the Boulder magnetometer, and another one is the geoelectric field models for North America. So there's the Boulder magnetometer. We are seeing some gyrations there in the H component. And here is the geoelectric field map, the empirical data showing actual induction into the system. So this, while it does depend on substrate, if you see your area lighting up, the aurora can come and go rather rapidly. The geoelectric field map is one of the ways that you can expect or not expect to see the aurora. So again, we do expect a significant signal here as we have a KP 1.33 situation, extremely geomagnetic calm conditions. And let's take a look at the solar wind next. So we've got the ACE and the Discover. First, the ACE, which showed missing data once again. Still quite slow and just a moderately diffuse solar wind there. The Discover, a little more complete data set. We are seeing some changes happening here just in the last hour or so. So I suspect it's going to be a lot more than that, but we do see a shift in the magnetic field depicted here. We do see an increase in the solar wind density. No real change in the solar wind velocity and no real change in the plasma temperature. So looks a little like a coronal hole high-speed stream impact there showing up. But so far, barely a signal. About 8 protons per cubic centimeter for the solar wind density, solar wind velocity here. About 330 kilometers per second. Quite slow indeed. Next are GOES magnetometers. Expect to see those gyrating quite a bit when the CME impact does occur. And next are line of sight. That's not line of sight, that's top view ecliptic plane field plot. Okay, there we go. So Earth is in a South Pole current sheet, and it might stick around here for another day or so. South Pole current sheet, they're stalling. The south magnetic sector of the heliosphere there, shown in red. So Earth, both Earth and Stereo B are still in the South Pole oriented sector. Here's our line of sight field plot. And again, don't be surprised to see the South Pole sector remain at Earth by tomorrow's space weather video. We did one last week where the sector boundary crossing was happening as we made the video. Here's our line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. It shows more of the ecliptic plane's magnetism. And that blue line does represent sector boundary crossings effectively. Keep in mind the magnetic field can be very bent, so it's not always a straight line from Earth to Sun. In fact, it's usually a curved line. Next, our line of sight coronal hole plot. We do have some pretty well-defined South Pole coronal holes here, kind of in the center of the solar disk. So let's take a look at those from the SDO. There we go. So, I mean, this one's South Pole. This one's north. And this one's north, actually. So North Pole sector boundary crossing is something like this. And again, there's a distinct possibility we'll remain in its South Pole current sheet up until tomorrow's space weather video. And let's move on to sunspots. Sunspots. I actually did some counting of them for once, something I rarely do. And this is why I say many of the sunspots that just rose in the northeast are not counted yet, because we're not over 100. So I counted about 16 individual umbrae on the solar disk, and we're going to actually count some here toward the end of the video. But that's the Royal Observatory of Belgium's current number, about 78 sunspots. And next, our flare probability monitor and solar flare scoreboard. So again, most likely place to see a large flare is up in the northeastern limb. Some chance of seeing a flare from 3489 down in the southeast as well. Let's take a look at sunspots here. We're going to show a couple different views. Let's zoom in, way in. That's just today now. That's only November 19th. Fantastic view there of the equatorial region. Colorized magnetogram plus SDO 171 angstroms. And here is the SDO continuum for the same period, just today, November 19th. And let's just stop this on the latest frame here, just to count sunspots briefly. So let's see, what do we see here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's at least 12 sunspots. And 12 times 6, last I checked, is 72. So actually, that's pretty much the right number at this point. So I think there are more individual umbrae when I counted before, but we'll show high-res imagery of that later in the video anyway. Next, looking at the proton flux, it's flatlined. And by the way, there is a solar energetic particle watch, because we do have a CME about to impact. So when a CME impacts, that increases the probability of a proton event, as magnetic channels are open, so to speak. And plus, of course, we have a high likelihood of large solar flares, especially from the northeast. So solar energetic particle watch in effect, and solar flare watch in effect. Background flux for the past 24 hours is about a C2, or at least a C1.8. I'll say a C1.9. So almost a C2 class background flux, and it's mainly just from that one sunspot in the northeast. So let's take a look at our flare wavelengths. Dag, we've got some sweet imagery. There's 94 angstroms for a 24-hour video. And we'll show some totally sweet close-ups of that truly massive sunspot group. And I believe it actually is 2 sunspot groups in that area there. The southernmost sunspot there is probably a separate sunspot. It'll probably get a separate name. So, but that northeastern group is quite massive. Here it is in 131 angstroms also. Did I mention that we have utterly berserk imagery today? We have utterly berserk imagery today. I guess maybe you've come to expect that from the channel. So, anyway, moving on to a star chart. I want to know what's going on overhead, and many of our viewers do also. So here is a chart for overhead Lehigh Valley. You've got the moon and Saturn very close together up there. So if you're seeing a bright object near the moon, that's what it is. The second largest planet in the solar system, also the largest planet a little bit farther down in the east on the ecliptic. Jupiter, known to the Greeks as Zeus. Next, a little solar system forecast for you. Here's where things are today. We'll advance this 1 week as we approach the November full moon. That's where things will be in 7 days. It looks like we're about 8 days out from a full moon. That's where things will be on the 26th. And check out the astronomy photo of the day. Totally freaking sweet. I mean, somebody captured the Crew Dragon docking with the International Space Station, transiting the sun, a prominence, and stuff from the chromosphere, all at roughly the same time there. So these prominences were caught in an overexposed photo. This chromosphere activity was caught in an underexposed photo. And the International Space Station was caught in a high-speed photo. So the chromosphere, by the way, is the transitional layer between the photosphere, which is the surface of the sun where sunspots occur, and the corona, where most of the action that we show on the channel is going on. For example, these prominences are in the corona, and the chromosphere is just this thin little layer in between the photosphere and the solar, quote, atmosphere, end quote. So fantastic astronomy photo of the day there, apod.nasa.gov. If you want to take a close look at the chromosphere, there's a view of that. Next, CMEs. And let's see if we have any more earthly directed events. There are our 2 favorite coronagraphs. Soho Lasco C2 and C3. Here's the most recent imagery, and we're going to let that play through again. So you've got C2 on the left. Slightly behind that, a few hours, is C3 on the right. So that first CME, that's from yesterday around 10 o'clock in the morning. That is not earthly directed. Then there's a later one. And pretty low levels of activity there. So pretty quiet as far as CME events for the past 24. We'll also show stereo A located right here, gaining some distance on Earth here to give us better trajectory when we do see CMEs. Here we've got stereo A's coronagraph on the left and the difference imagery on the right. The difference imagery looks like it's way behind here. Let me allow that to catch up a little bit. So there was a pretty sweet CME there out of the southeastern limb this morning. Does not look like it's earthly directed. And there's one coming out of the north right now, also not going to be earthly directed. It's behind the North Polar region. And here come the custom coronagraphs. Some 24-hour videos featuring SDO. 193 angstroms plus LASCO SOHO C2 and C3. Here's a little closer view. An even closer view there, including the SDO 304 angstroms wavelength. And it looks like a sun-diving comet there. Looks like it's breaking up as it gets closer. And there is the full disk filamentary wavelength that we like to use, 304 plus 193 angstroms. And again, massive plasma filaments on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. Likelihood of coronal mass ejections in the next 24 hours, nearly 100%. So we have some instability happening. Let's get to it. So the George Soros filament is getting kind of unstable. And this filament right here, this one's also starting to look a little unstable. Thinking about naming that one after somebody. I've got ideas for names for that filament, and you may not like them. So anyway, that's the situation from the ground-based Cerro Tololo, Chile Solar Observatory. And here's the grayscale, and lots of prominences there, especially on the east. Again, massive filaments there. This one here is the George Soros. And this one here definitely is worthy of a name. It wouldn't hurt to name this one either, but okay, anyway. Either do it or don't. And by the way, we've decided we're going to give out a prize for our 500th follower on Twitter. Let us know in the comments if you have a brilliant idea as to how to actually prove that somebody is the 500th follower. But we'll send some sort of a gift, some sort of an item to our 500th Twitter follower. We'll put rules for that somewhere. I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you think. x.com/smashomash. We're at 497. And check it out. There's that CME I was talking about coming out of the North Polar region. That's the view from the GOES 18 SUVI. And we'll shrink that down to 80% there to show the full disk. What's really cool about the GOES 18 SUVI, folks, is that it includes a wider field of view than SDO, so it's much better at showing CMEs as they leave the corona. But it does also feature lower resolution. You've got to give up something to get something else, right? So anyway, here come bonus features. First is satellite charging. Do we have any? No. It's clear. At the moment, no charging hazards of the surface or internal variety. So no low-energy or high-energy electrons building up on or in spacecraft. GOES electron flux here. Oh, it's just dipping. It's just dipping, folks. Is that the CME impact? Well, you'll have to wait till tomorrow's Daily Space Weather video to see that. Here's the 1-year graph of the electron flux. Make sure that's updated. And again, like we said, we're expecting a dip in that, so looks like NOAA has agreed. NOAA changing its forecast from yesterday's video, I believe. Again, see yesterday's Daily Space Weather video for details. And next we'll show the ionosphere, and let's get back to full screen mode. The F-flare, it's located at 300 kilometers of altitude, and here it is in megahertz. So that's what's shaking. We are expecting a lot more low frequency on this in the coming 24 hours with a geomagnetic storm likely. If that's Greek to you, don't worry. We'll show the anomalygram. And there it is, anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. And here's the latest. That's 2300 in megahertz. And there it is in anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. Next, wham! The whole atmosphere model. The whole atmosphere model, folks. Total electron content and maximum usable radio frequency. Altogether, a perfect snapshot. TEC on the right, MUF on the left. I don't know my left and right. TEC on the left, MUF on the right, along with the anomaly. For you GPS operators and radio users. That is what's going on at the ionosphere. And we'll also show the total electron content by itself. You never know when pieces of data will come in handy, so here's the full world view. Still looks like total crap erroneous data, so I'll let that play through once and then move on promptly to the anomaly from 10-day average over North America. So that looks a lot more legit. Indeed, seeing some high electron content anomalies there over the North American continent, right in there. That was early this morning. And we'll let it play through one more time, and then we'll show some high-res images of those new sunspots, which are fairly impressive. And by the way, if you haven't checked out the smashomash.com/smash team, just go over there and click on posts. You might not see all of the posts, but you'll see this one, sunspot number to jump, because I counted 16 sunspots earlier, and that basically means that you've got 96 sunspots. So anyway, and not all those posts require a paid membership, just so you know. So here's the latest continuum, and here's the latest colorized magnetogram. We'll look at this one first. It's beta gamma class. Is it beta gamma delta? Barely. It's got some umbra. Yeah, it's beta gamma delta. So flare watch there, but especially a flare watch up here. Check that out. Dag. Again, this sunspot down here is probably a separate sunspot group. I'd say that's one, and that's a separate group. But anyway, whatever. It's really a formality. It doesn't really matter that much because individual umbrae get counted anyway. And there's the full disk. And it's time to move to meteorology. So the meteorology segment, we're starting out with mean sea level pressure. And the lowest pressure in the world right now is just east of Kamchatka. There it is. It's about 940 hectopascals. That's a pretty low pressure there, right between the Pacific Ocean and Bering Sea barrier, which would be the Aleutian Island chain. The world's lowest pressure there in the North Pacific. So probably some big waves up there. We're not wave chasing today. We're showing mean sea level pressure. Here come the regularly scheduled meteorology segment. Surface winds of the east and the jet streams. Jet streams of the central world and the surface winds. Surface winds of the east, the west. I don't know which way is which today, folks. I don't know what's up with it. Strong low there in between eastern Canada and Greenland. And here are the jet streams of this side of the planet. Let's show some images from the NASA satellite. There's the NASA GOES. And what the heck happened here? Here we go. Here's clouds and fog over the Americas. And look at the rapid cloud nucleation happening there over Brazil. The sun sets and the clouds come out, folks. Makes for some dark nights in the headwaters of the Amazon basin. There's North America. And here's a closer view of South America. Look at the rapid cloud formation happening there. It's springtime. And there's a lot of convection. Looking pretty moist there. So that's the situation. And next, let's look at snowfall. So here's the next 3 days for the U.S. That's 3 days of new snow. And that's the Euro forecast. Check it out. Mexico's going to get some significant snow quite far south there. And there's the GFS forecast depicting a lot less snow. But the U.S. forecast there is not so different. There's the Euro forecast for 3 days of new snow. And there is the GFS. We'll show more detailed forecasts here in a minute. First, the weather.gov map. And once again, it looks like Utah. Yes, Utah. Full of winter storm warnings. The central part of the state there. There is the key. Click on your county or waterway at weather.gov if your location is lit up to get your weather warnings. And here comes some forecasts. We're going to have a very strong system form here over Virginia and then even strengthen as it moves up over the Atlantic. 72-hour GFS pressure and precipitation is what you're seeing there. GFS 72-hour positive accumulated snow depth change in inches is what you're seeing there. GFS mean sea level pressure and wind. And moving right along to lightning. We did have some lightning in Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. Also Utah and Arizona seeing some lightning. Some in Kansas as well. And here is a more recent map, lightningmaps.org. It's a real-time lightning map. Yes, you can use it to forecast thunder. Yes, you can frighten the natives into getting them to think you're Zeus or Thor or something. Looks like the most recent strikes in the U.S. were just north of Tulsa. But things are pretty calm right now over the U.S. Calm worldwide, too. Only about 45 strikes per minute here at the moment. And let's move on to show all this moisture coming down. Check it out. We got a moist U.S. as well. A lot of precipitation happening in various areas there. Much of the Rockies, much of the area west of the Mississippi Valley there. As a low is over northern Nebraska. We'll zoom out briefly to show the full 50-state view. Also, Hawaii and Alaska both getting some precipitation. And we will focus on the lower 48 to close this thing out and get it onto your screens. So there's vertical motion in the air column. Here is satellite-based infrared radiation at 3.9 micrometers infrared. Shortwave radiation shows clouds and fog at night. So that'll show you the areas that are likely to be clear to see the aurora tonight. Don't forget to get outside and look up. Use your camera if you think you see the aurora. It can pick up imagery. It can pick up a lot of things that you cannot see at all. It can see in the infrared spectrum. Your camera can take images in the ultraviolet spectrum. So if you think you see the aurora, take some photos and video of it and figure out how to have your camera set up correctly to capture the aurora. Again, most of the spectra is not visible to the naked eye. Once again, here is U.S. Doppler radar. Clouds and fog. And there is the water vapor. And here is me closing this thing out. And thanks for tuning in to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. I'll see you next time, which will likely be tomorrow. What do you think of the new time slot? Don't forget to press the like button. We'll see you soon. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back.